Hi class, this is your Professor Joseph. This little mini video is going to be telling you how to do your first paper. Okay, so on Canvas, we see that the first paper titled The Best Life for a Human Being to Live or The Best Overall Picture of Reality. So those are your two main topics. You are tasked to pick one of them. One of them will be your thesis. So I want 1,200 words or about 4 to 5 pages. If I load this into a Word doc, if I load your paper into a Word document, I can easily tell how many words you got. If you have less than 1,200, you'll be dinged. So at least this, which is about, like I said, 4 to 5 pages, double space, 12-point font. So here we go. So this paper will cover chapter 16 through 22. You're going to have to pick a philosopher who you disagree with in the nutshell, right? And this is what my instructions say. But says the paper will allow you to stand or to say where you stand after considering what they have had to say. So basically, I'll read to you. Such a paper will not require further reading or library research, though this is not ruled out. What it does demand is some serious thinking that demonstrates you have grappled with an issue of importance in the light of the best, that has been written about it in the history of the West. Remember, our book title is The Great Conversation. So we're going to be, we're picking up where Socrates through the Renaissance left off, and then these philosophers are adding to it. But so here's the two broad topics. And by the way, you've had since the beginning of the semester to think about this. This isn't, this hasn't just started this week. It's just when it's due. So pick one. Through the philosophers you've read so far, is there any one of them you disagree with that talks about the best life? Like, what's the best life for us to live? Has anybody talked that way or argued that way? Or the best overall picture of reality? Any philosopher argue about how things are, how things should be, how they think reality is? I tend to think this second one will be pretty easy with these readings, but there have been philosophers that have argued about this too, the best way to live. But pick one of these, not two, one, and that's your thesis. Think of this above two possible thesis statements that you choose from that relate to an author or argument from the readings we've done so far in the Great Conversation. So the paper's thesis statement shall be something like this. I will look for this, by the way, in your intro paragraph. You will be saying, I argue that, or this paper argues that. I must see that. If I don't see that, you haven't really done a thesis statement. Why? Because this is super, super clear. Me or any other reader, when we read your paper, or if we were to read your paper, on the intro paragraph, we know, hey, this is exactly what this person's up to. So here is an example. I argue that the best life for a human being is better than philosopher X's position. Or I argue that the best overall picture of reality is better than philosopher X's view. This is where you come in. I argue that, best overall picture of reality is better than Hume's view, or whoever you're going to choose. So the purpose of this paper is to disagree with somebody, okay? So here's what I want. Intro paragraph. It's got to be one paragraph long at least, or one page max, no more than that, okay? Choose a view expressed by one of these philosophers whom you disagree with. And basically an intro paragraph, you're generally introducing me to what you're doing. And then very specifically, here's my thesis statement. We could say, the Great Conversation is composed of many philosophers who talk about blah, 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 blah. And you're giving me a few sentences on generally what this class is all about. And then exactly how you're going to take your thesis. Give me a second here. Okay. So quite simply, one paragraph to one page, I need to see a thesis statement. The body, this is 2 pages long. This is where you're going to describe the philosopher's view who you disagree with, but you're not going to tell me why you disagree. You are literally going to be like a robot here. Hume says, let's say you did Hume. Hume stated blah, 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 blah. Hume argues blah, 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 blah. Never telling me what you think. What you think comes into the counter argument section below. So anyways, on the body, I want you to accurately express what the author thinks. You're going to give me at least 2 to 3 quotes, and I'll show you below. And you're going to format them exactly like this, not any other way. Melkert, pages, either one page or whatever pages they are. This is exactly how I want you to format your quote, okay? Quote, then this. Not any other way. So then counter argument. Oh, by the way, yeah, the body has to be 2 pages long. Counter argument, 1.5 to 2 pages long. This is where you construct an alternative that you think is better and represent reasons, or give me an argument why you think your view is better. This will be reflective of your own thoughts, not another philosopher's thoughts. You're not going to, start quoting on and on about some other philosopher and how they disagree with the philosopher you disagree with. No. This is what you think. And I stress that here. In other words, and this is very important, I want to know what you think and how you contribute to the great conversation. This might be the biggest struggle for some of you because you're not used to telling me or anybody else what you think about a philosopher, but that's the purpose of this class, is for you to engage with them. Maybe modern philosophy or modern science has advanced past them, and maybe there's something better than their view. Maybe you have a religious worldview. Maybe you believe in the Bible or Quran or some other religious text, and maybe that weighs in that they haven't considered, or maybe they give an argument against that text, but you don't think it works. Again, I want you to think about this. Bibliography. Create a bibliography for this book, an article that you'll be referring to. Literally, you're going to create a bibliography of our book, the Great Conversation book. Make a bibliography about that, and you're done. If you use any other outside research, put that in there as well. So this right here, you can read. This just unpacks a little bit more. But let me do this. Yeah. And I stress, this isn't an easy assignment. A good paper will require much thought. Don't leave this to the last minute. Some of you have already been thinking about these, and you've already talked to me about them, which is good. You've already been thinking ahead. Now let's go to the rubric. This is exactly how I'm going to grade your paper, okay? Introduction. Is it 1 paragraph, at least? Is it a page? Here's where you're going to introduce, and I want you to read this on your own. And then either excellent, good, needs improvement, or you just didn't do it. If you literally have no thesis or have no intro, this is where you're going to get your points or lose points, okay? The body, again, is it 2 pages long? Did you give me the main argument? Did you give me 2 to 3 quotes? Do you represent the philosopher's view? If I see that you're critiquing the philosopher's view inside here, you'll lose points. Remember, the body is, you're like a robot. This is what the philosopher said, argued, stated, blah, 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 okay? You're just representing their view, even if you disagree with it. Even if you think it's disgusting, doesn't matter. You're just representing their view, how they would, very accurately, okay? I want at least 2 to 3 quotes, and I want them to be formatted exactly how you've seen them, like this, Melkert. Why? That's the author of our book. And then the page numbers. Don't put Hume, pages, blah, blah, blah. Put Melkert. And I keep on using Hume as the example. And some of you're not going to do a paper about Hume. So anyways, 2 pages long, 2 to 3 quotes. Must format it the right way. Counter argument, 1.5 to 2 pages. This is where you represent your own view. Do you argue for an alternative view that is better for the philosopher's view that you first represented? Did you support this well with your own good reasoning? You can quote another philosopher in here that happens to agree with you, but at minimum, you say, this is my view, and such philosopher happens to agree with me. That's it. No unpacking some other philosopher's view. The second you do that, you're going to get in trouble. I want to know what you think. Okay? Because if you were to unpack another philosopher's view, your paper would be this simple. Hey, one philosopher says this. Hey, another philosopher argues against him. I'm done. But guess what? I would have never heard what you thought. Just some other philosopher, okay? Again, that's the purpose of the whole paper. This is where you come in this section. This is where you shine. If you don't think you have something new original say, I promise you, you do. Just for the simple fact that a lot of these philosophers, they have really good arguments, but one thing has progressed since then. Arguments. Things have built on upon these arguments. Scientific, the evolution of scientific theory has built on since then, and we have new discoveries since then. So there are things to say, believe me, and you'll have things to say. So here's how I'll grade you there. And again, look at these rubrics, because I'm telling you exactly how I will grade you on each specific section, okay? Support and documentation. This is where I want to see, did you cite the paper? Did you look for the quotes here? Did you do a bibliography? Did you give me, did you cite the quotes the right way? So 10 points for this section. And by the way, the counter argument section, 30 points. The body, 35 points. And the intro and thesis, 10 points. They all add up to 100, okay? Grammar. If your grammar is horrible, the max that I'll take off is 15. If your grammar is good, you get 15 points. If English is a second language, I highly stress that you go to the Writing Center. And if you can't go, because nobody can go, right? Campus is shut down. If the Writing Center is still open, send your paper to them. If you give me proof that they've looked at your paper and they've helped you with grammar, submit that proof into an email and show me, and I will not take off a single point. Because if the Writing Center helped you and you can verify it, boom, 15 points no matter what. That way I reward you for seeking out extra help. But anyways, grammar. Did you punctuate the right way, capitalize a sentence? Did you give me run-on sentences that I can't even understand? Did you finish the sentence? You'd be surprised. I mean, sometimes I get like a sentence that's not even done because some people are in a rush. And by the way, grammar. This is usually where I'll catch somebody. If you're cutting and pasting and you're not giving me your own original ideas, but you're trying to reword somebody else's thoughts and you take them as your own, this is where I'm going to see it hook, line, and sinker. And by the way, this is where people plagiarize and get caught, is because you're trying to take somebody else's view and represent it as your own, and you're trying to reword things. Please do not do this. Mount SAC has plagiarism software. I don't even have to do anything. It does it for me. It can actually tell me if you've pulled internet resources and exactly what sites and exactly what part of the site. It can take every single thing you type into this document and tell me where it came from. Therefore, don't plagiarize, okay? So anyways, grammar. Nobody's perfect at grammar unless you're an English major, and even then you're not perfect. I'm not perfect at grammar. I have to submit all my papers that I'm doing for my dissertation and my PhD program to the Writing Center because I need help, okay? So we all can learn. That's pretty much it. That's your grading rubric. Take this very seriously. This is exactly how I'm going to grade your paper. This is what I expect of you, and this is reflected from this right here, just your general instructions, okay? Could you do an author that we haven't covered for those 2 weeks that we were off? Absolutely, and I remember saying that in an announcement. But again, bottom line with the paper, pick an author who you disagree with on one of these topics. That becomes the body of your paper. Then the counter argument, what you think, okay? That's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I try to empower you. So this first paper is going to be just like your final paper. Your final paper will be a little bit different, but it'll be, pretty much the same format. You'll have an intro paragraph, a thesis statement, you'll have a body, you'll have another section, and then your grammar and all that and your quotes. This is pretty much getting you warmed up for your final paper. But I think I've pretty much covered everything. Oh yes, and this is the most important thing. You can write in the first person. You do not have to write like a robot, purely scientific third person perspective. You can say I, me in the paper. I'm fine with that. Why? Professional philosophers, there's a lot of them who do just that. But some of you might have been trained in English and other science classes. You can't use that word. Forget all that. You can use those I, me words if you want, okay? Because I do that myself. And again, this is philosophy. This is a different type of writing. If you see some of the most famous published philosophical articles, they'll use the word I. Not all of them, but some of them do. And I like that style of writing myself. So that's pretty much it. Good luck on your papers. And there you go. If you have any questions, just let me know. See you next time.